Hey, hey, how's it going? Thanks so much for joining me in my kitchen tonight. You're watching another episode of Cook With Me TV, where I cook a healthy meal from start to finish in under 30 minutes, and you actually cook along with me. So let me know if you are cooking along with me. Give me a hoot, a holler, wave of a hand. Hey, Diane, good to see you. You have a question mark. Can you not hear me? Let me know. So tonight what we're doing is we're cooking up a apple ginger butternut squash soup. It's delicious, it's super creamy, and it's the perfect meal to cozy up with on this cold, rainy day, at least here in Peoria, Illinois. It's nasty outside. It's cold and rainy. If it's not cold and rainy near you, then I'm sure you can still enjoy this wonderful meal, or at least, the very least, get an idea of what to make for when it does get a little bit colder in your neck of the woods. So this soup is really simple. What we do is we start off with a mirepoix, which is carrot, celery, and onion. We're going to chop these guys up pretty small, saute them up with some garlic and ginger, some nice aromatics, some great flavor enhancers, and some nice components to add a little extra nutrition. We're going to throw in 2 apples to add some natural sweetness. And then, of course, we're going to use a butternut squash. So what we're going to do is get the carrot, onion, and celery going first. So if you are cooking with me, go ahead and get out a cutting board and knife if you haven't done that already, and then your carrot, onion, and celery. We're also going to need a big pot for the stove. So we're going to cook all of these things. Hey, Atlee, good to see you. Hey, Miriam, good to see you. Thanks for joining, guys. Oh, hey, Katie. Hey, guys. Everyone's rolling in. Okay. As I was saying, we're making butternut squash soup. Let me know. Is anybody cooking with me tonight? Let me know. I was mentioning earlier, go ahead and get out your cutting board and knife. A big pot, a soup pot for the stove. I'm actually cooking for 4 people, and so I'm going to make a little bit more soup than what the ingredients called for. So I'm doing 2 butternut squash. I've already pre-chopped one so that you don't have to wait for me to chop the other one, because you guys are probably just doing 1 butternut squash. So go ahead and get all those things out. Hey girl, hey. Oh, how's the weather near everyone? Here in Illinois, it's just nasty, cold, rainy. So this soup is going to be perfect for that. Let's go ahead and get all of these things chopped up. So let's start with the carrot, the celery, and the onion. I'm going to start with the carrots. You can use 1 to 2 large carrots. Mine were a little bit on the smaller side, so I've got 2 small guys, 1 kind of medium one. I'm just going to chop the ends off here, and we'll discard that. Someone asked me the other day, do you peel your carrots? I actually do not peel my carrots. I think that it's common practice to peel them because sometimes they can look a little dirty and nasty, but as long as you scrub them and rinse them off, you should be able to remove most of the dirt on there. So I say just eliminate that extra step and leave the skins on. And so I'm just going to come through and thinly slice these guys into rounds. You could do more of a traditional dice if you wanted to, but once these are cooked up and soft, they're going to be really easy to puree. So don't waste the extra time cutting them into a dice, in my opinion. Has anybody ever heard that word, a mirepoix, for this trio of vegetables? It's a French term. Oh, Katie, 5 people. Yes, 5 people. 5. She loves butternut squash soup. Atlee, I'm excited to try this on a rainy evening. I know, right? It's so cozy. Okay, I'm going to just chop off the ends here of the celery. They do get a little bitter and kind of nasty looking. You can wash these guys too if you don't want to cut off that part. Again, I'm just going to come through and do pretty thin half moon slices. So this carrot, onion, and celery trio is a really nice start to any soup, stew, or any kind of other kind of, even like a rice dish. It can be really nice. It just starts to add some good flavor. It's an essential trio to use whenever you're making soup, in my opinion. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to do an onion. Lots of good stuff in this onion. In addition to the wonderful flavor it brings, there's also prebiotic fibers in here, good for your gut, help to feed those healthy bacteria so they can thrive and do all the wonderful things that they do for your body, like reduce inflammation, keep you regular in the bathroom. Lots of good things. So I'm just going to cut this guy in half, peel the skin off. Hey, Sarah, what's going on? And then I'm going to come through and do a few slices lengthwise, and then adjacent cuts to get a little bit more of a dice. Is everybody ready for Thanksgiving? What's everyone's plans? Katie, do you leave the leaves on the celery, assuming there's nutrients in that as well? I've always cut off both the top and bottom of celery stalks. Yes, I do leave the leaves on. You can see I did get a couple of them in here. They do have a lot of great flavor, and they have nutrition as well. They're not going to have as much as the stalk, but there's still a little bit of nutrition in there as well. I personally love it for the flavor, a little bit more mild of a celery flavor. So yes, leave them on. You can also buy like pre-chopped carrots, celery, and onion at the grocery store. A lot of grocery stores have that already pre-chopped for you in the produce section. So if you're trying to cut down on time, that's another option. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put my pan on about medium-high heat here. Drizzle a little olive oil on the bottom. And then we're gonna get all of those veggies in the pot and start sauteing them. We're just gonna soften them up, help them release their flavor, get their juices going. In the meantime, we can get to chopping the butternut squash, because sometimes that can be a task. And if you're trying to save time again and you don't want to deal with cutting open a fresh squash, you can absolutely buy like pre-cubed butternut squash. Sometimes they have that in the produce section. Sometimes they have it in the freezer too. So just check that out at your grocery store. We'll do a little bit of salt and pepper in here. Give it a quick stir. And once we start to hear this sizzling and cooking, we'll come back over here and stir it up a little bit more. But it's going to take some time for that pan to heat up. So let's go get our butternut squash going. Why, hello, Colleen. Oh, we are going to my parents for Thanksgiving, Tuesday night through Sunday. I'm so excited. Oh, that's awesome. That sounds like a lot of time off. That sounds really, really nice. Unfortunately, we're not going to be going to Florida for Thanksgiving, so I will miss you. But I hope you have a good vacation and a good stay with family. I'm definitely going to make this recipe, but I have so many leftovers right now and didn't want anything to go to waste. I feel you. I feel you. I appreciate that. No food waste. Okay, butternut squash. First of all, does anybody have any tips and tricks of their own for cutting open this bad boy? This is actually one of the smaller versions. I like to use a vegetable peeler. It does get, the skin off without taking off too much of the actual butternut squash meat. Or you can, if you don't have a vegetable peeler, you can always use a knife as well. But the first things that I like to do are to cut the ends off. I'm just going to come through here and cut the end off of both ends here. This allows me to sit my squash upright so I can peel it this way. So if you just use your vegetable peeler, you can start to peel away that skin. It actually goes pretty quickly. You could leave the skin on. This skin is not as thick as some of the other squashes, like spaghetti squash, for example. But because we're trying to get a super creamy soup, having those bits of skin pieces are not going to allow us to get the creamiest of creamy end products. So I'm just trying to help us get there as best as possible. Now, if you have a really good blender, like maybe the Vitamix could blend up the skin quite well and you wouldn't really be able to tell that there's pieces of skin in there. But if you're just using like an emulsion blender like I am tonight, or you have a blender that's not so high quality, then you would want to peel the skin off. So then I'm just going to come around the bottom and get the rest of that skin off. Okay, we can see the seeds are already poking through here. So this is going to be the neck of the squash. Right below that, in the body of the squash, are where all the seeds are. So we're going to cut the neck away like that. And then we're going to turn this guy right side up and cut him in half. We're going to use a spoon to get those seeds out. If you're feeling extra ambitious tonight, you can save the seeds, separate them from the pulp, and roast them in the oven. It takes maybe 10 minutes at 350 degrees. You could put a little sea salt on them, do whatever you want. I don't think I'm going to be doing that tonight, but by all means, if you want to do that, have at it. So you just come in there with a spoon, scoop out those seeds. It smells so good. Okay. And then what we're going to do is come through and cut these guys into relatively small pieces, because we're going to throw them in that pan with the carrot, celery, and onion, saute them down a little bit, and then add all of our liquids and cook them up until they're soft. So I'm going to do like a small chop here. I love how bright and vibrant orange this squash is. Hey, Kristen, good to see you. What's going on this fine Sunday evening? I love using brightly colored things for dinner. I kind of spew this fact out quite a bit, but I'm just going to do it again in case anybody hasn't heard it. The pigments in fruits and vegetables that give them their vibrantly colored pigments are actually antioxidants. So for example, beta carotene is responsible for giving this squash its yellow orangey color. And beta carotene acts as an antioxidant in our body, which basically means it roams around and scavenges free radicals that would otherwise start to cause inflammation, oxidation, or disease, and helps to alleviate that process. So antioxidants are excellent. Shoot for brightly colored fruits and vegetables. All colors of the rainbow are going to be good. I'm just going to put all of these in a bowl. Like I said earlier, I'm making a double batch of soup tonight, so I've got a whole extra butternut squash already pre-chopped. Didn't want to waste time with you guys on here cutting up my other squash. Okay, so these guys are sizzling. Smells good. Smells very good. Just give that a stir so nothing burns and sticks to the bottom. And then let's finish cutting the neck here. So I'm going to make a few different slices here. Just be careful with this part because your squash can get a little wobbly. If you feel like it's not too secure cutting that long of a neck of squash, you can absolutely cut it in half first and then make those smaller cuts just so that you don't feel like you're going to cut yourself. Okay, and then I'm going to come through and do a couple more strips. This can be a little bit of a workout, I'm not going to lie. Butternut squash are a little bit harder than like acorn squash to cut. And I'm going to come through, cut them into smaller cubes. What else do you like to do with butternut squash? Do you have any recipes that you've tried before that you could share with all of us. I just automatically think soup, but there's so many other ways to enjoy butternut squash. All right, last one here. So once we're done with this, we're going to chop up our apple and we'll throw the apple in. Beautiful. All right. Whoop. Hey, Jackie. Hi, Lisa. Good to see y'all. Happy fall, y'all. Y'all are still in the South, so I can say y'all. I find myself using the word y'all up here quite a bit. It's not really a northern thing, but some people do say it. Kristen is saying, I just roasted squash for dinner tonight. Awesome. I have leftover squash. Oh, so this recipe is right on time. That's perfect. Which brings me to a really good point. So thanks for saying that. If you do have leftover squash during the week, you can absolutely, puree that up into a soup as well. You've already got the hard part done, which is cooking the squash. So that's excellent. Very cool. Oh, Katie, butternut squash and spinach lasagna. Do you have a recipe for that you could drop a link in the comments section and share with us? Because that sounds amazing. Kristen, I made a salad with spinach, butternut squash, apple feta, oh, and salmon tonight. Oh my. That's maybe you should have your own cooking show. What? I want to make that. That sounds really, really good. I made one similar to that like last week, apple and feta over greens. Love the idea of putting salmon on top and then throwing butternut squash in there. Oh, that sounds so good. So good. Okay, I'm going to cut around the core of this apple. Again, we're using apple in this just to naturally sweeten the squash soup. So I'm going to cut this into similar sized pieces rather, of the butternut squash soup. Of the butternut squash. Yay! Katie has a link. That sounds so good. I'm very excited. I love me some lasagna. Well, here's Kiki to the rescue, getting the squash cube that fell. Or maybe it was apple. I don't remember. Was it good, geeks? Okay, once you get your apple chopped up, go ahead and throw that into the pot. Stir it up with everything. And then we'll come back to the cutting board and do our garlic and ginger. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Katie. Beautiful. Beautiful. So real quick, is there real pasta in that, or does the squash serve as the pasta? Atlee, my Kiki is waiting for scraps too. Yes, so Atlee and I both have, this is just crazy. We both have 2 dogs named Riley and Kiki. That's just wild. That's wild. And Kiki is normally the one here, at least, who's waiting for scraps. Riley, not so much. Sometimes she does, but I have to say that Kiki is a little bit more of a beggar. It's the sound of chopping, and that's why she stands here. Okay, let's throw these apples in. Get those cooking. And of course, you can use any apple that you have on hand. Oh, this is smelling so good. You can start to see the onions and celery and carrot are getting a little more translucent, which means you can see through them, meaning they're cooking. Hey, Lindsay. What's going on? They're all waiting here. Okay, you've got a crowd. All right, I'm gonna pop off a few cloves of garlic here. Is Diane still on? I think you had put a question mark in, which made me believe that you couldn't hear me or something was going wrong. Let me know. I'm gonna do, let's see. I'm gonna do 6 cloves of garlic here. These are pretty big cloves. I've got lots of shortcuts tonight. If you don't want to use fresh garlic, or maybe you don't have fresh garlic, you could buy the pre-minced stuff that you find at the grocery store. It's like in a jar. It's still good to use that. And if it saves you time in the kitchen while also enhancing the flavor of your food and delivering a little nutrition, I say go for it. Lindsay, reheating frozen soup tonight. Everyone's on the soup train. Love it. It is soup season. It has officially arrived. Potato, kielbasa, and a whole bunch of veggies. Oh, that sounds so good, Lindsay. We love some potato soup in this house. So good. Lindsay, did you make a bunch and then like freeze it? That's kind of your style. Lindsay likes to be prepared like that. She's a very prepared individual. She's prepared for life. Katie, yes, but I use brown rice lasagna noodles. You layer a pureed, the pureed butternut squash that has nutmeg and ricotta in between the noodles, and layers of ricotta and garlic, sauteed spinach. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good. So I could save some of this butternut soup and use that as the squash puree in that recipe. Oh, that sounds so good. So good. I've never experimented with brown rice lasagna noodles. I don't think I have them around here. I haven't seen them at the grocery store. How are they? Are they good? Do they like hold up pretty well in cooking? All right. Got our garlic sliced up here, and then I'm going to use just about a knob this big of fresh ginger. There we go. I'm going to use this same spoon that I dug the squash seeds out with and just peel that skin off of the ginger. Another shortcut, they've got in the produce section with the herbs, they do have ginger, it's like ginger paste ready to go in a squeeze tube. That's something you could do. We have some lemongrass that way, which is nice because you can't always find lemongrass, and it's also kind of, not a pain, I shouldn't say that, but it is a little bit more labor intensive to use fresh lemongrass. So you could do the same thing with the ginger as well. And what I'm going to do is just mince this up as small as I can. Ginger can be pretty fibrous, so even if you cook it thoroughly, it doesn't always blend up completely in your soup, so just try to cut it as small as you can. We'll throw all of these into the pot, mix it up, and then get that butternut squash in the pot as well. Oh yeah, this smells great. Get the rest of the ginger and garlic off the cutting board here. Let that cook for just a minute. Let the garlic and ginger get some heat. Katie, yeah, we actually eat only brown rice pasta now. Nice. I think I've had like brown rice spaghetti, and I remember it being really good. Just never experimented with the lasagna noodles. That sounds cool. So many pasta options. The pastabilities, as Lindsay McCoy would say. This frozen soup was actually not originally intended for meal prep or cook once, eat twice. I just got carried away adding more and more to it until it came up to the top of my Dutch oven. Been there. Not a bad result though, right? Because now you get to feast on it for days. All right, let's go ahead and add in the butternut squash cubes. So it's gonna look like my Dutch oven is super full. Just mix all of this around. And then we're also going to, so we're going to season with a little salt and pepper now, and then get our curry powder in. Kind of get all of those spices cooking. You can always add more salt at the end, but it is hard to dilute a salty soup, especially if you want to keep the consistency pretty creamy, because you could always add more liquid, but if you add too much liquid, it becomes a little too watery and not that thick, creamy, pureed soup that we're going for. All right, and then for the curry powder, I'm using a sweet curry powder. This is from Penzeys. Does anybody else order through Penzeys? They have some really great spices. They also send you fun little notes in the box. But the thing about curry is basically just a different blend of spices. And so there's so many different types of curries. No curry that you buy at the grocery store is going to be the same. Just to give you an example of what is in here: turmeric, coriander, cumin, ginger, fenugreek, nutmeg, fennel, cinnamon, white pepper, cardamom, black pepper, and a little bit of cayenne pepper. So if you had all of those spices or similar spices like that at home, you could just blend them up and make your own curry at home, or just stick to, you know, a curry that you can buy at that's already mixed together for you. So I did about a tablespoon and a half in there, maybe 2 tablespoons. And I'm just going to cook the spice in here for a minute or so, and then we can go ahead and add our liquid, which is going to be some veggie stock and our coconut milk. So this is like a coconut curry butternut squash soup. I had a hard time coming up with what to name the soup because I love highlighting that apple and ginger are in this soup, but then I also like saying that it's a coconut curry butternut squash soup, and saying apple, ginger, coconut curry butternut squash soup is way too long. So I think I just stuck with the apple ginger. Beautiful, smelling so good. All right, so I'm gonna go now and pour in, I've got 32 ounces of veggie stock. You can buy a pre-made veggie stock at the grocery store, or you can use water mixed with veggie base, which is what I did in here. So it's just 32 ounces of water, or 3 cups, with about 2 to 3 teaspoons of veggie base. You could use a chicken base as well. Gives it a little bit more flavor, a little different flavor. Okay, and then now we're gonna get our coconut milk in here. I'm gonna turn my heat up to about a medium high or high because we wanna get the soup simmering so we can actually, so we can actually cook the squash, soften it up, and then we'll puree it. Oh my, did I open this on the wrong end? No, this can is weird. And I am using a full fat coconut milk. It has way more flavor than light coconut milk, which is basically going to be a lower fat version of coconut milk. But the lid just sank to the bottom. Okay, cool. But the light version is just not as flavorful. Again, fat equals flavor. So when you take the fat out of things, they don't taste as good. And you don't need to worry. This is really our main source of fat in this dish, aside from the bit of olive oil that we used to saute, which wasn't very much, especially when you divvy it out among servings, because this is obviously going to be several servings. And you do want to have a little bit of fat in your meal. So go for the full fat coconut milk, especially in this recipe. And sometimes the coconut cream sticks to the bottom of the lid, so don't forget to get that beautiful part. All right. Stir this up. So this is looking really, really nice. There's not too much liquid. You can still see some squash, a layer of squash at the top, which is what you want to go for. Again, if there's too much liquid in here, you're going to have a thinner soup. The less liquid, the creamier your soup. Wonderful. Okay, let's put a lid on this. Let it hang out for a couple minutes. I'm going to rinse these coconut cans and get them in the recycling. Lindsay, I don't know. Apple ginger coconut curry butternut squash soup has a pretty good cadence to it. Okay, I just thought it was too long. We could probably write a rap about it. Let's do it. I'll follow your lead because you're good at these things. Sarah's saying, I'm super excited to make this. I was going to say she could. Wait, what? Oh, make a cheer about it. Go soup. Yes. Hey, Sarah, stop. What are you up to? Been seeing a lot of your pottery stuff. You're a busy woman. Yes, I love the cheer comment. I'm gonna rinse these, throw them in the recycling. And then what we can do is slice our bread because we have some bread to serve with this, which I'm very excited about. And what you're not seeing tonight is that we're serving this with a salad. So just to kind of balance it out, we're having a little bit lighter of a dinner tonight. We feasted on Indian food for lunch today, and we're all still feeling pretty full. So this dinner is going to be a nice light dinner that's going to satisfy but not make us feel too overly satisfied, if that makes sense. Sarah's writing a grant. All right. For what? Can you tell us? I'm excited. I'm interested. I'm very interested. Whoops. All right. Sorry, I'm getting distracted right now. I took a nap earlier. And I love taking naps, but usually when I wake up, I'm not as, like, my brain cells aren't firing as quickly. Does everybody else feel that way? It does feel good to nap, though. Again, on a cold, rainy, dreary Sunday afternoon. All right, bread. So we got this wonderful toasted sunflower honey bread from our grocery store bakery. Very loud. We love this bread so much. It's got sunflower seeds crusted on top, and it is a multi-grain loaf. So what we're gonna do is just slice it up, toast it a little bit in a pan on the stove. You could do it in your toaster, however you wanna do it, but this is just a really nice addition to have with soup. It's kind of like Panera, right? Like every time you get soup at Panera, they always give you a little side or a little piece of bread to go with it. It's nice. It's so nice. Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay. Very cool. Well, good luck with the grant writing. I've never done grant writing, but I know how tedious of a process it can be. All right, I'm just gonna slice here. About that thick. However you want. Oh my gosh, this bread, it smells delicious. Do these 4. So I'm gonna get out just a pan here, a flat pan. I can hear this soup bubbling. Oh yes, very, very good. So that's what we want. We want it to come up to a boil, then we'll turn the heat down, let it simmer for a bit. And we'll turn our skillet on just a medium heat. I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of olive oil in here because I like how it crisps up the bread. You could just put the bread in a dry pan and toast it that way. That would be totally fine. If you add a little bit of fat like olive oil or butter or coconut oil or whatever it is, it will crisp up your toast a little bit more and give it, you know, a little something extra. Hey, Janet. Sundays for me are almost impossible to catch your show. I'm so sorry. It's hard to pick a time that works for everyone. I'm glad to see that you're here, though. Thanks for making it. What do you have going on Sundays? And you know you can always, well, you know the drill. You've made a million of our recipes. You can always go back and watch the replay. Yeah, so for those who are new here, we do keep the replays on our Facebook page or on YouTube, and you can go back and watch them on demand. And then you can always grab the ingredient list in the event section of the Facebook page as well, so you know what you need. So just gonna lay these guys in the pan, let that come up to heat, toast them a bit. So you really only need to simmer your squash. You know, if you've cut the squash cubes pretty small, you just have to cook them for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes until they soften up. Then you can get to pureeing. So just curious, does everybody have an emulsion blender, or would you be using like a regular blender for this recipe? I'm just curious. I like the emulsion blender because it's portable, it's really easy to clean up, and you can leave the soup in the pot. You don't have to, you know, ladle the soup into a blender and then blend it up in batches. I will say though, if you have a good blender, you will get a slightly creamier product if you use the blender that way. That's the fanciest vertical spoon rest I've ever seen. Oh, well, let's go over here. Oh, this? It is pretty cool, isn't it? So we have another one. It's handmade. I think it's a potter from North Carolina? Tennessee. It's from a potter from Tennessee. It is cool. So it's kind of like you throw, and Sarah Staub's on here, so she knows exactly how to make this. You would throw a somewhat cylindrical shape, and then you would just kind of cut out that part. And yeah, you can sit the spoon in there. It was pretty fancy. You think that's fancy? Let me show you something else. So David is a huge fan of design in general, and he found this at a local shop in Charleston, Distill Union. And so it's like a holder, right? You can spin it. But what's cool about this is that each of these spoons or ladles are weighted in the bottom. And so when you put it on the counter, the spoon doesn't actually touch the counter, so it doesn't get your counter dirty. So it kind of like props it up. So you can put the spoon down, doesn't actually touch the counter. Pretty cool, right? We love these. And if you're interested in these, they do sell these online. Joseph is the brand. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. They're fun, and they come in different shapes. Janet's saying yes, but my blender is not as nice as yours. So you do have the emulsion, the stick blender? I love them. I think they're great. Okay, So did you love this, this lovely mess I have here? Janet, I have a KitchenAid immersion blender and it takes longer than yours to puree. Ah, okay, KitchenAid. What's ours? Cuisinart. I wonder if it's the blade or the speed. I don't know. Well then, so maybe like a actual standing blender would be a little faster for you. You're the future. Apparently I'm living in 2000 and late. No, really David's the future. Oh no! Boiling over. Dirty stove. All right, I'm gonna take this lid off because this is cooking just fine, just at the right speed. I don't need to speed things up at this point. Oh, look how creamy the coconut milk is. Yellow from the turmeric and the curry powder. Oh, it looks so good. So good, so good. I'm gonna come through and poke a squash cube with a fork and see, or a knife rather, see how close to cooked we're getting with these guys. Oh, we're getting there. I'd say maybe like 5 more minutes. Yum. Let's check the toast here. Oh yeah, getting brown, getting brown. Needs a little bit longer on each side. So I'm gonna let that hang out for just another minute or so. And then what we can do is come over here and get our toppings ready. So, hey Jennifer, good to see you. How are things going? Mama, mama. So we're topping our butternut squash soup tonight with a few things. We're gonna do some nuts. In the recipe I put pecans because pecans are a delicious combination with goat cheese, but of course use any kind of nut that you have on hand. We are going to use cashews here, goat cheese as well, of course, because a little bit of cheese on top of butternut squash soup is delicious, and then some chopped scallions. So you know me and toppings. I feel like toppings are where it's at when it comes to cooking or eating anything. It's all about the toppings, always. I know that we do have some people who are vegan and vegetarian, so if you don't want to do the goat cheese, just leave it out. I think that, you know, adding the nuts is still a really good protein source to add on top of your soup. Or if you feel like you need a little bit more protein, you could do some like crispy chickpeas. They could serve as croutons for your soup. You could throw those on. I don't know, what are some other ideas? Anybody else have any other ideas? You could also blend silken tofu into the soup to up the protein content in a vegan way. Okay, so let's cut, I'm gonna chop up some scallion and some of these cashews. I do recommend toasting your nuts in a pan if you have raw nuts at home. It just tastes way better. So much more flavor. Also, for people with digestive issues, sometimes they can't handle raw nuts because there are components in there called phytates, which can cause GI distress. So again, like if you're someone who has IBS or pre-existing gut issues, you'd probably do better with a roasted nut, especially if you find that eating nuts is problematic for you. All right, so we've got some onions here. Chop up some cashews. You could also blend up cashews in this soup as well if you're doing like a vegan version. But outside of the cheese, this recipe is actually vegan. Perfect. And I'll open this guy up just to have him ready. Feta is also really good on top of this soup. What kind of cheese does everyone like? Cheese. I love talking about cheese. Cheese is so delicious. What kind of cheese would you guys put on this soup? going to try and, so last time we talked about cleaning as you go. Just makes cooking and cleaning up a lot better. So for example, we're sitting here, right? We've got our toast on. We're waiting for that squash to cook up. Go ahead and start cleaning up the kitchen a little bit so it's not like a huge, crazy mess at the end of it all. Oh, Gary Manis made some soup yesterday. Wait, why would he have crazy dreams? The better question for me is, what cheese don't I like? Right there with you. Right there with you. Oh, blue cheese on it's really good too. My mom always has this story, this like family story. Has anybody ever heard of Limburger cheese? Apparently it's a really, 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 maybe like the stinkiest cheese ever created. My brother, when he was growing up, would eat literally anything that you would put in front of him. He was a garbage disposal to the max. And my mom thought it would be funny because she always liked to like play tricks on us growing up. To give him a piece of Limburger cheese because she knew that he wouldn't even smell it. He would just eat it. And that's what she did. And it was apparently a very horrible experience because it was disgusting. He spit it out and then, oh my God, the bread just fell out of the bag. Anyway, funny story of a really stinky cheese. And I never see Limburger anywhere. I'm not sure where it's even sold. But that might be one cheese that we don't like. Hey, Gary. It was a great recipe. I've eaten it 3 times already. Ooh, this morning I had it over biscuits. That sounds wonderful. Hi, Miriam. Good to see you. We're cooking up butternut squash soup tonight. Oh, eating gumbo late because you have crazy dreams when you eat late or when you're pregnant. Limburger, Janet knows. Okay. Yeah, my grandfather used to eat it along with raw scallions. What a combination. Oh, that's so funny. I wish my mom was on here right now. She would be laughing up a storm. We always love that story. Okay, let's go ahead and check on these toasts. We can definitely, oh, you guys. Colleen, I burnt the toast. Okay. This is what happens. It happens, right? Burnt. I burnt food. You're going to burn food. It's going to happen, and it's not a big deal. So, luckily we have another half loaf left, so I'm going to do that after the show. I'm going to turn the pan off right now, actually, and we'll just let them sit. We'll probably still eat a couple of them. Gary is saying, just eating spicy foods late at night. It happens when you get older. As it turns out, I dodged the bullet. Slept fine, thankfully. Good to hear. Good to hear. I'm going to share 2 crazy dreams that I've had since being pregnant. One of them, Olivia came out with 4 eyes. So it was very alien-like. They were all in a very perfect kind of like row on her face. It was a very strange dream. So 4 eyes, that was one. And then the other one was that there was a plague going around, and the only way that I could save her from the plague would be to ship her off to another country immediately after birth. Talk about what, prenatal anxiety? Because it's not postpartum yet. Thanks, Gary. Okay, let's check the squash here. Oh yeah, this feels soft. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. We're gonna get this blender in here. Start pureeing this soup. I'm so very excited. Oh gosh. All right. If you've never used one of these before, a couple words of advice. When you're blending, don't pull it out of the mixture Otherwise it'll splatter everywhere, and this is super hot soup, so you don't want to do that. Oh, like that, like I just did. This is looking really good. Again, the longer that you blend it, the creamier it will get. If you like a mixture of creamy and chunky, you could just blend it halfway. What I love about having a pureed soup, though, is that you can use it for other things during the week. Like we discovered tonight, you could use it in that lasagna recipe that Katie posted. You could use it just as a side, kind of like with a protein, so like chicken or fish. You could ladle a bit of the puree on the bottom of a plate and put your fish or chicken, rest that on top of it, kind of like a mashed potato replacement. See, it's only been about a minute, and this is pretty creamy. All right, get that. And get your spoon in here. Just see, make sure you didn't miss any chunks. This looks really good, you guys. Oh, it smells so good. Let's give it a quick taste. See if it needs anything. Oh my, that is wonderful. Definitely has a nice coconut flavor. So if you don't really like coconut, I would suggest using just 1 can of coconut milk and subbing the other can with extra stock. If you do love coconut, then you're gonna love this. So this was easy, right? You just pop this off. I'm gonna stick this in the sink, rinse it off real quick. And let's ladle up some soup. So again, you know, at this point, like I said, taste it, see if you need to add any additional seasonings. Maybe it needs a little extra salt, which actually I am gonna add just a touch of salt here. If you want more of that curry flavor, you could add a little bit more curry, which I think I am gonna add just a touch more curry. Oh my, I'm dropping things left and right. Just mix that in. I'm making a total mess tonight. Okay. Looks good. Let's get a bowl out. And get some soup in here. This looks so good. Wonderful. Oh, thanks, Janet. I love it too. Do you have an alternative to coconut milk in this? So are you looking for something that's still dairy-free? You could use regular cream in this, or you could just use stock instead of coconut milk. It will bring on a different flavor, but I think it'll still be really good. The coconut milk just adds another layer of creaminess to it, and then obviously, of course, coconut flavor. But yeah, you could do just like straight cream, which would be a nice replacer if you don't mind the dairy in it. I didn't get groceries in time, so I'm making this tomorrow and so excited. Yay! Cool. Let me know how it is. Real quick, I'm gonna change the ingredient amounts in the event because I did just realize that I used 2 butternut squashes tonight. The recipe or the ingredients list on the event calls for just 1 with the same amount of liquid that I used tonight. So for example, the 2 cans of coconut milk, the 32 ounces of stock is going to be probably too much liquid for 1 butternut squash soup. So I'll change those measurements in there tonight. I've got soup all over me. And so that you don't have like a super runny, thin soup. Oh, Tim hates coconut, but I love this. But of course he can't feed himself, so I'd have to use something different for him. Okay, yeah, in that case, I would say I would do cream. I would do regular like cream. Okay, and then the fun part, right? Toppings, scallion. Nuts, a little bit of goat cheese. Just kind of put that in the middle there, or you can sprinkle it around however you want it. And then a beautiful side of burnt toast. Or we can hide it and flip it over and then pretend that it's not burnt, because that's what I would do for a picture. Oh, burnt toast only on one side. So there you have it, butternut squash soup. Yes, this recipe does take a little bit longer than 30 minutes. We were about an hour in at this point. Of course, I've been talking a little bit more, so I would say this recipe is it's closer to 45 minutes to make from start to finish. I'm gonna give it a quick taste. It's some of that goat cheese. Oh yeah. With the goat cheese, it's so good. The goat cheese is so creamy and delicious. So good. Let me know if you guys like it. Here you go, David. Wait, oh, yeah, the burnt toast. You won't see it until he tastes it. You know what I'm thinking. Always. Cool. All right. Well, enjoy it. I see everyone is excited about making it. Let me know how it goes. I hope it's delicious. I'm sure you're going to love it. Wonderful. A wonderful soup. We've got a lot of leftovers too. So if you do use 2 butternut squash soups, or butternut squashes, you'll have lots of leftovers for the week, which is wonderful, which you can always freeze if it's too much. Okay. Thanks y'all for joining me. Tune in next week. What we're having is posted on the schedule. Again, I will post the ingredients list for that recipe tomorrow, so you have a chance to get all of the ingredients that you need and come join me in my kitchen and in your kitchen. I guess we're kind of both in each other's kitchens tomorrow or next Sunday and cook along with me. So thanks for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and an even better week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.